Have you ever stopped to think what really pushes someone onto a spiritual path, especially way back in ancient times?
Yeah, and how a great teacher maybe inspires people, not always with, big speeches.
Right, but sometimes something more personal,
Hmm.
more subtle.
Exactly.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into an ancient text, the Naḷakapānasuttaṃ.
Hmm.
It's got this really fascinating, almost intimate chat between the Buddha and some key disciples.
It really does.
And our mission really is to try and figure out the deeper reasons for giving everything up for a spiritual life.
And the struggles involved, the inner stuff.
Yeah, the inner stuff. And also this really surprising teaching method the Buddha used. It's quite empathetic.
It is. We'll see how these statements he made about people's progress weren't just news flashes.
No, they were like tools. Tools for transformation. Yeah. Okay, so let's set the scene.
Okay.
The Buddha's in this quiet forest, the Palasa forest in Kosala.
Peaceful setting.
Totally. And he's got this group of monks with him. Some really well-known ones are the Anuruddha, Bhaddiya, Vigala.
Landa too, right? Ravado Kachanya.
Yeah, the core group.
Exactly. And he asked this really pointed question about the monks who, left their homes out of faith in him. He asks, are they delighting in the holy life?
And what's really striking is he doesn't just ask once.
No.
He asks 3 times. And each time, silence. The whole group of monks just stays silent.
Wow. Okay, that silence feels heavy.
It does. It really sets the stage. It hints that maybe there's something more going on, a deeper concern, perhaps. It leads into a much more direct, one-on-one kind of interaction.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. So
Yeah.
after this triple silence,
Mhm.
the Buddha turns straight to one guy, right? To Anuruddha. And asks him personally, are you delighting in the holy life? Big shift.
Huge shift. And Anuruddha says, indeed, Bhante, we are delighting in the holy life. And Bhante is just that term of deep respect they use.
Yeah. And the Buddha praises them, says it's fitting. And here's the key part. Why? Because their renunciation, leaving home, it wasn't for the usual reasons.
What do you mean, usual reasons?
Well, things like being afraid of the king, or running from robbers, or being deep in debt,
No.
or even just general fear, or, needing a way to make a living. It wasn't any of those external pressures.
Okay, that's really interesting because these guys, they left behind, like, the good life, didn't they?
Absolutely. The text mentions pleasures, being in their prime, having beautiful black hair. They weren't escaping hardship necessarily.
So if it wasn't those worldly things,
Yeah.
what was it? What can make someone walk away from all that?
It was something much deeper. Their reason actually mirrored the Buddha's own motivation.
Which was?
A profound realization. They saw that they were, and this is the text's language, overwhelmed by birth, old age, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, dejection, and despair.
The whole spectrum of suffering.
Exactly, and they renounced specifically hoping to make an end to this entire mass of suffering. So it highlights this core spiritual drive. It's completely separate from just, mundane problems.
So it wasn't running from something as much as running towards something, towards liberation.
Precisely. It came from an internal understanding, an internal aspiration, not external coercion or need.
That completely reframes it, doesn't it? It wasn't a practical choice. It was profound.
It was. And then the Buddha goes on to explain what someone who has renounced like this should actually do.
Okay, the how-to.
Kind of. He says they need to cultivate seclusion. The Pali word is viveka.
Seclusion, so like go off into a cave.
Well, not just physical solitude, though that can be part of it. It's more about an inner detachment.
Inner detachment from what?
From sensual pleasures, primarily, and also from unwholesome states of mind, like negative thoughts, unhealthy patterns.
And he connects this seclusion, this viveka, to achieving something positive, right?
Yes, directly. He links it to experiencing joy and happiness, piti sukha, or maybe even something more tranquil than that.
So there's a payoff to this inner work.
A direct one. Which raises the question, well, what if you don't manage it? What if you try for seclusion but don't find that inner joy?
Yeah, what happens then?
The text is pretty clear. It says the mind gets overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed by what?
By these mental defilements or hindrances. Things like greed, ill will, laziness, and drowsiness.
Sloth and torpor, yeah.
Right. And restlessness, worry, doubt, discontent, all that mental noise.
The stuff that clouds our judgment.
Exactly. But conversely, if you do achieve that joy through seclusion, the mind isn't overwhelmed by these things.
So it's like seclusion clears the space, joy fills it, and that keeps the negativity out.
That's a good way to put it. It really shows the immediate, tangible benefits of doing this inner work. It gives you a roadmap. Here's what to cultivate. Here's what gets in the way.
Very practical, actually.
Not just philosophical.
Very. And then the Buddha turns back to Anuruddha. He probes a bit deeper.
Another direct question. Yeah, this time about their perception of him, the Buddha. He asks if they think that he, the Tathagata, still has any defilements left, any hooks that could lead back to suffering or rebirth.
That's a bold question. How does Anuruddha answer?
Unequivocally, he says, no, they believe the Buddha has completely abandoned all those defilements, root and branch.
A total affirmation of the Buddha's enlightenment.
Completely. And the Buddha confirms it himself with this really powerful image.
Oh, yeah. What does he say?
He says his defilements are uprooted, made like a palm tree stump, utterly destroyed, incapable of future arising.
Like a palm tree stump, meaning?
Meaning, just like if you cut the crown off a palm tree, it can't grow back. His liberation is final, irreversible.
Wow, that's absolute.
It is. It serves as this powerful benchmark, doesn't it? It shows the ultimate goal of the path. Complete, irreversible freedom from suffering and all its causes.
Okay, so given that, given the Buddha's own state, this complete freedom, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Wonder what?
Well, why does he sometimes talk about where his deceased disciples were reborn? You know, saying so-and-so was reborn over there or achieved this state or that state.
Right. You might think, well, maybe he's doing it to big himself up.
Yeah, or to get more followers, maybe. Prove he knows things.
The text actually tackles that head on. It explicitly says no.
No.
He states very clearly he does not do it for deceiving people or for gaining praise, honor, fame, or just so people will know him. He rules those motives out completely.
Okay, so if it's not for ego or recruitment, what is the real reason? This feels like a key insight.
It really is. It shows this incredible empathetic side to his teaching.
Empathy. How so?
He reveals the real purpose. He makes these declarations to inspire other people, to inspire the noble sons and daughters full of faith.
Inspire them how?
By giving them immense joy and delight. When they hear about the spiritual success of someone else, someone maybe they knew or respected, they get motivated. They think, wow, if they could do it. And they apply their minds to achieve that state themselves.
Ah, so it's like using success stories as fuel for others' practice.
Exactly. And he says this leads directly to their own long-term welfare and happiness. It's basically ancient motivational psychology, grounded in compassion.
That's actually quite brilliant.
Yeah.
Using past success to power future effort.
And he wasn't vague about it either. The sutta gives specific examples of the kinds of declarations he'd make. He outlined different stages of progress.
Like what kind of stages?
Well, he might say someone had stood through knowledge. That refers to an arahant, someone fully liberated, all defilements gone, the goal reached.
Okay, the top tier.
Right. Or he might describe someone as being spontaneously reborn, attain final nibbana, not liable to return from that world. That's a non-returner, an anagami.
Meaning they wouldn't come back to this world?
Correct. They'd attain final liberation from a higher realm. They'd broken the 5 lower fetters, the main ties to this cycle of rebirth and suffering.
Fetters. Like chains.
Sort of, yeah. Mental chains, attachments, aversions, delusions that bind us.
Okay, so arahant, non-returner. Any other stages he mentioned?
Oh, yes. He'd also talk about a once-returner, a sakadagami, someone who would only need to come back to this human world one more time to finish the job, basically.
Just one more round.
Yeah, having destroyed the first 3 fetters and really weakened lust, hatred, and delusion.
And for people maybe earlier on the path.
He'd identify a stream enterer, a sotapanna, someone who has, entered the stream leading to nibbana. They're not subject to falling back into lower states. They're assured, definitely bound for enlightenment.
So a guarantee almost.
Guarantee they'll get there eventually, yes. Because they've broken those first 3 fundamental fetters. It gives tremendous confidence.
That's amazing. He's giving concrete markers of progress. And wait, you said sons and daughters?
Ah, yes. Crucial point.
So this wasn't just for the monks?
Absolutely not. The text makes it explicit. Similar declarations were made for nuns, for laymen, and for laywomen.
That's huge. It shows this whole approach, this inspirational method, was universal for everyone practicing.
Totally universal. And if you think about the impact, imagine you're a practicing layperson, right? And you hear the Buddha declare that someone you knew, maybe another layperson who just passed away, had achieved, say, stream entry.
Okay.
You wouldn't just hear the declaration, you'd immediately remember that person's qualities, wouldn't you? Their faith, virtue, learning, generosity, and wisdom, as the text says.
Yeah, you think about how they lived.
Exactly. And that memory, combined with the Buddha's confirmation of their success, would deeply inspire you to cultivate those same qualities in yourself.
It makes it real, tangible.
Precisely. The text even calls this reflection a comfortable dwelling for the practitioner. It provides inner peace, guidance, and strong motivation just by reflecting on the proven path of others.
So, wrapping this up then, this dive into the Naḷakapānasuttaṃ, it's really shown us some powerful things.
Definitely.
Like, first, that real spiritual drive often comes from deep inside, right? That need to end suffering, not just running from problems.
That internal realization.
And second, that the path requires serious inner work, that idea of seclusion, viveka, to find that inner joy and overcome obstacles.
The practical side of it.
Yeah. And maybe most surprisingly, this empathetic teaching strategy. The Buddha announcing people's attainments wasn't about him.
No, it was entirely for the benefit of others, to inspire them, to guide them, using real examples.
It kind of flips our modern ideas about success or achievement on their head, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, we often think of achievement as something for personal recognition, for status. But here, achievement is valuable because it serves as a beacon, a source of inspiration for everyone else on their own path.
That's a great point. It shifts the focus from individual glory to collective progress and well-being.
So maybe something for you, the listener, to reflect on. How does this ancient view resonate today? Is success just about getting ahead yourself? Or is there value, maybe even more value, in how our journeys and acknowledging the journeys of others, even long past, can light the way for those around us, helping them find their own path to inner peace?
Thinking about how learning from others' progress, their virtues, can actually become a source of strength and guidance in our own lives right now.
Exactly. A powerful thought to carry with you.